There is hope ahead of us, and that is why it is my pleasure to share with you my husband, our next Prime Minister, Pierre Poilievre.
All right, thank you very much. Good to see you. Axe the tax! 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 Anna, I think they want to axe the tax. Wow. Thank you for that incredible Etobicoke welcome. Who's ready to spike the hike? Who's ready to axe the tax? Who's ready to make common sense common again? Who's ready for affordable homes, affordable food, affordable gas? And who's ready to make all these things in Canada again? In other words, bring it home. 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 Wow. What a crowd. What incredible energy. What an incredible speech by my incredible wife. Isn't she amazing? That's raw talent right there. Nobody writes her speeches. In fact, she just scribbles a few notes on a piece of paper and turns it into a masterpiece every single time. You know, I knew she was smart. When I really realized I was going to be marrying MacGyver is when she repaired our car with her hair elastic when we were just off the highway back from Montreal to Toronto. This is a woman who can solve any problem. She can get, by the way, any product that can be purchased, she can find the best bargain in the world. She's able to make dollars go further than anyone I've ever seen before. And that might seem like a small thing, just like a domestic skill. It's not a domestic skill. It's a skill that we need to have right back in the heart of the government. Value for money. It's common sense. It's common sense. And by the way, she also is a marketing genius. Look at this incredible merch that she put together. Have a look. Thank you. Yeah, that's all that's coming off. There's nothing else coming off. Yeah. I'm not Justin Trudeau here. In fact, we have more of these shirts. Look at this. It's incredible shirts we have here. You can get them at bringithome.ca. Bringithome.ca. Look at that. There you go. So, on what day will Justin Trudeau raise April 1st, which is what? April Fool's Day. She was the first. That's your prize there. She's getting an Axe the Tax t-shirt, and you know what she's going to do with that? She's going to bring it home. She's going to bring it home. April 1st, April Fool's Day, and with Justin Trudeau and the NDP, the joke is on you. Over there's the countdown. You see it? Time left until Justin Trudeau's April Fool's Day tax increase. 23% hike coming to your gas, your heat, your groceries, everything set to go up. It is a tax on every single thing you buy. If it goes in a truck, or a train, if it has to be heated in a warehouse or transported, if it has to be transported around the country, axe the tax, 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 axe the tax. Now, we know everything Trudeau has said about the carbon tax has so far been false. Remember when he said it would make you better off? He said there'd be this rinky-dink little check you'd get in the mail that would make it all right. Well, we have here, is Kathy Katula here? Kathy, that's you. Come on over here. Can I say hello to you? Come over here. Kathy, you remember when Justin Trudeau saw you at a town hall meeting and you were telling him how expensive it was to heat your home? And he said his carbon tax was going to make it all better, didn't he?
It was nothing but a photo op.
And he gave you a big hug and he cried, a little tear went down his face, right?
Yeah, he told me to focus on spoiling my grandkids. I haven't been able to visit them in 3 years because his carbon tax cost me over $200 a month. Axe the tax.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. Axe the tax. Yeah, Trudeau said, don't worry, this carbon tax will make you better off. He gave you a big hug in front of the cameras. It was a big warm hug, but not warm enough to heat the home in the winter in Canada. No, you actually need natural gas to do that in most places. And the tax on that gas is going to be going up by almost a full quarter, 23%, which will mean hundreds of dollars more in costs for families like Kathy. Now remember, he told us that he would give you all the money back and more. That it would be, it's like that. It was like that uncle who sends you an email from a faraway country claiming that you don't know who he is, but he's going to pass away soon and he wants to bequeath you $1 million. You just need to give him your credit card and password and he'll deposit into your account, right? One of these scams. That's the Trudeau tax scam. So I brought some bills here today to shed light on the Trudeau scam. Because here are the facts about the Trudeau tax. Here are the facts. Axe the tax. Here, let me look at the data for Ontario. Trudeau's plan is to more than quadruple the carbon tax, up to 61 cents a litre, and at a proportional hike on your home heating and on everything shipped to you. According to the parliamentary budget officer, when this tax and the second carbon tax combine to take full effect, as they will over the next 5 years, should God forbid he be re-elected, the total cost to an average family in Ontario will be $4,078 in carbon taxes. Almost 3 times what the rebate is promised to be, and that assumes he keeps his promises about these phony rebates. So we know that everybody is going to be much worse off as a result of the carbon tax. Let's go through the many ways this is the case. First of all, there's the direct cost. For the single mom who's trying to take her kids to sports and to school in the morning, who has to drive herself to work, she has no choice. There isn't an electrified train to take her. She can't ride her bicycle 40 kilometers every single day to get to the restaurant where she serves her customers. She will be paying higher direct costs. But then there are the indirect costs. Trudeau said, on the face of it, you're all better off. Forgetting that when you attack the cost of energy, everything else goes up with a cascading increase. Let's move on to the cost of food. So I have here, this is actually an Enbridge bill from constituents of mine. They're the Madero's mushroom farmers. They produce most of the mushrooms in Eastern Ontario. Their carbon tax bill for 1 month was $21,620. 1 month. Trudeau intends to quadruple that carbon tax to over $80,000 in 1 month. Then that's he literally taxes the energy that they pump into their mushroom chambers, and then the drying cost and the heating cost, and then there's the trucking cost in order to take the mushrooms from the farm over to the wholesaler, which has to be heated, where it's taxed again. And then it goes from the wholesaler all the way over to the retailer. And in those big Costco facilities or even the small grocery stores, they have to heat the place. That all becomes more expensive. So by the time you buy your mushroom, it has been taxed by Trudeau and the NDP 5 or 6 times. You can imagine why this cascading effect drives up the cost of food. And then there's beef. Well, they want to ban you from eating beef, of course. Think about that. They want a carbon tax. They carbon tax the farmer who makes the grains. Those grains then have to be dried, so they tax the dry heating from natural gas that's used to turn that grain dry. That grain is then turned into feed, and then it has to be transported over to the farms where there are feedlots. And then so the buying farmer who buys that grain for feed, he has to pay the carbon tax. And then when he takes his cattle to the slaughterhouse, that transportation is carbon taxed again. And then the slaughterhouse has to pay the tax. And then the final cut meat has to be transported when it is carbon taxed again. And so there is a cascading tax again and again. And by the time, God forbid, that you might have a steak on your plate, just once a year, which is all many people can afford, you have 8 or 9 separate carbon taxes baked in or grilled in to that same piece of meat. This is a tax. And so what is he... Let me tell you how insane this is. I have a little farm in my riding called Sun Tech Tomatoes. They produce the little miracles of Manotick. Trudeau's carbon tax applies on the CO2 they release into the greenhouse, even though that CO2 doesn't go into the atmosphere. It's absorbed by the plant life. That's the point. Apparently Trudeau missed that day in science class. So the end result... The end result is that it's more expensive to buy a Manotick tomato in Manotick than a Mexican tomato in Manotick. So we send a price signal to our customers to buy the foreign and more polluting tomato that had to be transported, burning fossil fuels by truck and train, all across North America, instead of buying the more environmentally responsible tomato from the local producer in your neighborhood. Common sense conservatives will not just axe the tax, we will repatriate farm production to our country so that we can feed our people and stand on our feet. Bring it home! Bring it home! Yeah. Bring it home. Well, sorry. That is very rude. I'm sorry. These are very delicious. You know what? You know what they say. An apple a day keeps the liberal journalists away. Some of them are here. They're welcome. They're welcome. They're paying the carbon tax too, eh? I think some of them are changing. A lot of liberals are changing. We have a great common sense liberal who did the right thing for his constituents. We have John Nunziata. Give John a round of applause. The great John Nunziata. He was a liberal member of Parliament. Get this. This is a fantastic man. He ran on a platform to get rid of the GST. And then when the Liberals, who promised the same thing as part of the same party, broke the promise, he said, I'm keeping my integrity. He left the Liberal Party and ran as an independent and was endorsed by his constituents. There's a low-tax, common-sense man who stands for his principles. Thank you, John. Thank you. You can say that. John, what did you just say there?
They're all going to vote for you now, including my son, who's a politician. He's a TDSV trustee. Fantastic. We're promoting you every day.
Thank you very much, John. Well, you see, the thing is, John hasn't changed. He has the same common sense values from the start. He was fighting high taxes then. He's fighting high taxes now. There are many common sense Liberals who, when the party believed in balancing budgets and low taxes and free enterprise and keeping criminals locked up and developing our resources, they believed in that too. Those common sense Liberals have been abandoned by the radical agenda of Justin Trudeau that taxes your money, that punishes your work, that doubles your housing costs and unleashes crime and chaos in your community. We're welcoming all those common sense Liberals into our party. We want them. Thank you, John. In fact, that's why I'm making an announcement today. It is now 21 days, 9 hours, 28 minutes, and 53 seconds until Trudeau's April Fool's Day tax hike kicks in on you. So here's my announcement. Common sense Conservatives are unleashing a massive pressure campaign on NDP and Liberal MPs to vote against Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh and in favor of spiking the hike and axing the tax. Axe the tax. Axe the tax. But it involves all of you. I can't do it myself. Politics is not a spectator sport. It is a participation sport. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So you need to be at the table. So I'm going to be asking some things from all of you. I'm going to be asking, we are going to start a massive pressure campaign in Parliament, but you need to back me up on the ground. How many of you are going to write your Liberal NDP members and demand they vote with common sense Conservatives to axe the tax? How many will organize protests out of Liberal constituency offices to pressure them to do the right thing? How many of you are going to send emails to all of your networks and post on all of your social media so that every one of your neighbors know about the upcoming April Fool's Day tax hike? How many of you will bombard Liberal NDP offices with phone calls to make sure that they understand their constituents cannot afford to pay anymore? We are going to heighten the power and the pressure on the Liberal MPs. Now, many of you will say, oh, that'll never make a difference. Well, if you think that you're too small to be effective, you've never been in a tent with a mosquito. The reality is, we have forced these guys to back down before. Remember, Justin Trudeau wanted to apply his massive tax increase on home heating oil right across the country. So we launched a campaign just like this in Atlantic Canada to keep the heat on and take the tax off. Atlantic Canadians rose up, they made noise, and their MPs heard the message loud and clear that they were not prepared to pay the bills. So these MPs started calling Justin Trudeau, begging him to cancel his plans to apply the tax on home heating bills. And on one Friday, when Justin Trudeau was relaxing in his office, all of a sudden his secretary said, Mr. Prime Minister, there's a whole gang of Atlantic Canadian Liberal MPs banging on your door. They're demanding that you announce here and now that you're going to give their constituents a break on the carbon tax. He said, close the door, don't let them in, for God's sakes. So they tried that, but they kept pounding away, and Justin started to get nervous. He was rolled up in a little ball in the fetal position on the ground, sucking on his thumb. And finally, they kicked down the door, they grabbed him, they dragged him out to a press conference where an unannounced, unscheduled press conference, where he said that he would pause the tax for some people in some regions where his caucus was revolting and his poll numbers were plummeting. Well, we want to see his caucus revolting everywhere and his poll numbers plummeting everywhere so that he will spike the hike until we can axe the tax. It's not just about the cost to consumers. It's about the independence and self-reliance of the Canadian economy. This tax applies on our businesses, but not on the businesses that dump their product, foreign corporations that dump their products into our country and make us more dependent on the rest of the world. I was at Canada's oldest steel plant, Stelco, over 100 years. Any steel workers here? We got a steel worker there. God bless the steel workers. Amazing steel workers in our country. God love them. And their chief operating officer told me that when the carbon tax is fully implemented, it will cost $500 million for their one plant. That's thousands of jobs, my friends. That's wages that will be robbed from unionized, hardworking Canadian workers. Money that will be taken from their kitchen tables that would have been used to feed their kids. And what will it mean for the world and for the environment? It will mean we will import more steel products from the most dirty, polluting foreign dictatorships where they don't have any carbon tax at all. They are pushing production out of Canada. Pushing production out of Canada. They're doing the same thing with the electric car mandate, right? They're forcing you to drive a vehicle that was used with materials refined burning coal in China. They want our money to go to a foreign dictatorship. We know Justin Trudeau has said he's always admired the basic Chinese communist dictatorship in China. We just didn't realize that he meant he was going to send our jobs and our money over to that foreign dictatorship. So my common sense plan, my friends, is to axe the tax on Canadian businesses so that they can bring home the production to this country. We can make our own steel, manufacture our own goods, produce our own food. Bring it home to our people. Bring it home. Et que fait le Bloc? Que fait le Bloc? Le Bloc travaille avec Justin Trudeau pour radicalement augmenter les taxes sur le dos des Québécois. Le Bloc a littéralement dit c'est pas juste qu'ils supportent la taxe carbone, mais ils veulent le radicalement augmenter. Le Bloc et Justin Trudeau n'en vaut pas le coup. Ça coûte cher voter Bloc. Nous, les conservateurs, allons couper taxes et impôts, bâtir des logements, réparer le budget et stopper les crimes. My friends, I say the same thing in both French and English. Our common sense plan is to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. And speaking of building homes, the carbon tax will make home building even more expensive as all the raw materials that go into homes have to be shipped to the construction site. And many of the materials that you take for granted in your home are made using petroleum products. So the drywall that you see as you walk into your house, many of the plastic materials that you take for granted, they all become more expensive as the carbon tax goes up. And that further drives the housing crisis we have before us today. Common sense conservatives believe that Canadians can no longer afford to pay. After 8 years of Trudeau, housing costs have doubled, to the point where in Toronto, it now takes 25 years for a family to save up for a down payment on a home. Used to pay off an entire home in that time period. I was recently in Oshawa, where 16 seniors have been forced out of their homes by rent hikes and are crammed into one house where they've been provided by the local food bank. That food bank tells me they're literally running out of food. 2 million people line up at food banks every single month. 36% of Canadian charities are now turning people away because they have nothing left. And there is a Facebook network called the Dumpster Diving Community, where 8,000 people share tips with each other on how they can better eat out of a garbage can. We never thought this would happen in our country, but that is what happens with 8 years of radical NDP Justin Trudeau policies. But the good news is, life was not like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone. We're going to turn the hurt that he has caused into the hope that Canadians need. And I've been saying a few of these. I've been talking a bit too much here. I want to do a quiz here. All right. How much is the carbon tax scheduled to go up? 23%. She got it first. There you go. There you go, sweetheart. Smart young lady. What will happen to the tax when I become Prime Minister? Axe the tax. There we go. Axe the tax. So in addition to axing the tax, we're going to build the homes. Right now, we have the second slowest building permits of any country in the OECD, even though we have the most land to build on. We spend a larger share of our economy on home building than any other country in the OECD. In fact, twice as much as they do in the United States to build the smallest number of homes. Why? Because of the bureaucracy that you have to fight your way through in order to get a building permit. The biggest single cost added to building a home in Canada is not land, labor, or lumber. It is bureaucracy. 60% of a new home cost in Vancouver is permits, consultants, development charges, taxes, lawyers, all the people who do nothing productive to actually build the home. And yet they take up the lion's share of the cost of the new home. So common sense Conservatives are going to require municipalities speed up, lower the cost of building permits, and free up land to build as a condition of getting federal money. I will require cities permit 15% more housing completions. If they hit that target, they'll keep their money. They beat the target, they'll get a bonus. They miss the target, they'll pay a fine. Realtors are paid for the number of houses they sell. Builders for the number they build. Let's pay our municipalities their federal infrastructure money for the number of homes they permit. Pay for results to build the homes. We're going to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. And you know something? It warms my heart to think of a beautiful family pulling up in their U-Haul to move into their wonderful new home in the former headquarters of the CBC. How do you like them apples? And we want those homes to be in safe neighborhoods. That's why we're going to stop the crime. We have some wonderful police officers here today. Let's give a big round of applause to our police. God bless our police. We love them. I told some of them as I was coming in, though, I want to reduce their business. I want them to have less return customers. We want more police, but less return customers. We just came back from Penticton. They have one criminal there who does so much crime that you can tell whether he's been in jail on a given day based on the crime rate for the whole city. No, I'm serious. It's not a joke. This guy does so much crime that when he's free, you can actually see spikes in Penticton's crime rate. It's incredible. And every time I go back to Penticton, I relay this story, and people in the crowd, they all shout out his name. They all literally shout out the guy's name, because everybody knows who he is. But he never actually stays in prison because of Justin Trudeau's catch and release policies. Catch and release allows him and other violent offenders to get out of jail within hours of being rearrested. Now, in Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times in 1 year. 6,000 times is 150 times per offender per year. And then there's the career car thieves. The car thieves who can serve their sentences in their living rooms, watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. Common sense Conservatives will make repeat violent offenders and career car thieves ineligible for bail. It will be jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. Jail, not bail for repeat violent offenders. And then we're going to tackle the drugs. Trudeau has decriminalized and tax-subsidized narcotics, claiming that this is the best way to keep people safe. He calls it a safe supply. A safe supply of what? Heroin? We're talking about hydromorphone. It is a heroin-grade drug, and yet they're literally giving it out in our streets. Now, we said that these drugs are being diverted, and they're ending up in the hands of children. And they said, oh, that's disinformation. They claimed it was a conspiracy theory. Well, that conspiracy theory was proven to be the truth when just 3 days ago, the RCMP tweeted out that they had acquired tens of thousands of doses of taxpayer-funded opioids that had been diverted into the hands of organized criminals. Criminals who then sell it to kids and get people hooked on drugs. Our common sense plan is to recriminalize the hard drugs, stop giving out taxpayer-funded opioids, and put the money into treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. And not only that, we're going to stand up for our law-abiding sport shooters and hunters. Support the hunters. Yes. Justin Trudeau thinks that stopping crime means we have to take away Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle. We've got news. Justin Trudeau's made it clear. If he's re-elected, he will ban every single civilian firearm. Not one single hunter will be left able to harvest the wilderness for sustenance or recreation. He published 300 pages of hunting rifles that he wanted to ban. He's made it clear that that is his agenda. This is going to come at the cost of billions of dollars to send our police out harassing licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested firearms owners who have already been vetted by the RCMP. That is wasted money, my friends. Instead, we will take that money and we will put it into reinforcing our borders and our ports to keep the illegal drugs out. Speaking of our ports, you know, anybody had any cars stolen around here lately? Yeah, there we go. Everybody's hand goes up. You know, how many cars stolen every day in 25 in Brampton every day. 25 cars stolen in Brampton a day. And they get on a train and they go all the way to Montreal, where they get on a boat and they're shifted off to the Middle East, to Africa, to Europe, and sold to organized crime and terrorists. This is insane. Do you know they only have 5 inspectors at the Port of Montreal? They inspect 1% of the containers that go out and come in. There was one businessman I met with. He said, look, I live in Brampton, therefore I knew my car was going to be stolen one day, so I put an air tag in the trunk. Put an air tag in the trunk. He wakes up in the morning, looks out the window. Sure enough, there's no car in the driveway. So he pulls out his phone, he looks at the app, and he says, oh, I know where the car is. It's on the train route off to the port. So he calls the port. The port says, sorry, we don't have the resources to help you out with this problem. He calls the police in Montreal. They say, oh, we don't have any jurisdiction. We can't really inspect things at the port. So he gets in the car and drives there himself. He's following the progress of his car. He gets there, he jumps over the fence, runs right up to the train. He says, there it is, that's my car right inside that shipping container. And all of a sudden, some CBSA guys come running up. He says, oh, thank God you're here. My stolen car is in that container. Can you help me out? They said, no, we're giving you a fine. He says, well, at least can you take this container down? Can you take this container down and let me have my car back? Say, no, we don't have the resources. The container went up to the ship. It was lifted on board, and off it went overseas. So he paid a fine and lost his car. Isn't that a symbol of everything that's going on? The good guys are always the ones paying the price in Justin Trudeau's Canada. My common sense plan will use money that we save from canceling the gun buyback and from firing useless consultants. We're going to put that money into scanning every shipping container and stopping our cars from being sent abroad. Stop the crime. Stop the crime. We're going to stop the crime. We're going to reinstate common sense to our finances with a dollar-for-dollar law requiring politicians find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending. We'll cut the waste. The $21 billion for consultants will be cut. The $35 billion infrastructure bank that hasn't completed a single infrastructure project will be cut. We will cut the $1 billion green fund. We will cut back on wasteful aid that goes to dictators, terrorists, and multinational bureaucracies and bring that money home. We're going to put that money back in our military to support our troops. Support the troops. They're the guarantors of our freedom. Our freedom. Bring it home. 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 Bring it. Yay! Great catch. Wow, there she goes. Excellent. We're going to bring it home. We're going to bring home our freedom again. We will repeal liberal censorship law C-11. We will ban all of our ministers and members of parliament from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. There will be no mandatory digital ID, no central bank digital currency. We'll ban the IRGC terrorists to protect our people. We're going to give people back control of their lives here in this country. And we do say bring it home a lot, don't we? And some people wonder what it means. Well, it means what it says. In addition to the common sense, axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime. In addition to bringing home more of your paycheck and bringing home more of our industries to this country, it means bringing home the country that we always knew and still love. That's what it means. It means bringing home the common sense consensus that made that possible. And a country that someone once said makes no sense in theory, but always made sense in practice. A common sense that made us all feel at home. But right now, it feels like we're a long way from home, doesn't it? With everything, for all the misery we are suffering and all the hopelessness and division our Prime Minister has caused, it feels like we're a long way from home. So it's kind of hard to remember what home looked like, how beautiful it was, and how much more beautiful it can be. So let me paint a picture of home and hope. It is a picture of children skipping safely off to school, their parents no longer worried about their safety. In the background, the cracking sound of hammers pounding Canadian lumber into yet another new, affordable home. Of seniors driving past and waving at a shopkeeper who sweeps clean his shop storefront as those seniors drive home with affordable groceries in the car and change in their pocket. On their way, they see a group of Legionnaires who are planting beautiful flowers in honor of the fallen heroes of their wonderful community. And when they get home, they hear the familiar sound of parents yelling, bedtime, to children playing street hockey who yell back, 10 more minutes! And then, all of a sudden, silent, as a young couple sits quietly on their porch, soaking in the warm evening air, with a Canadian flag gently hanging from the front of their brand new home. As they admire the paycheck in one hand and enjoy the cold drink in the other, their eyes meet in a way that can only mean it was worth it. Canada kept the deal. All the hard work paid off because finally we're home. My friends, these are our people. That is our country. This is our home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home.